Hello there. Thank you for taking a moment to watch this video. And on this particular training, we're going to continue talking about the PhoneBurner integration with the Nimble CRM. And more specifically, I want to talk to you about some of the automation functionality that you have at your fingertips based off of each call outcome. So if you think back to that first dial session that we did after we installed or activated the integration, we saw some dispositions up on the screen like no answer and voicemail and set appointment and not interested. We saw all these dispositions across the bottom of the screen, and these are completely customizable. You can create as many dispositions in the PhoneBurner system that make sense for you and your team. And along with that, you have the ability to set automations within Nimble based off of those call outcomes. So let's say, for example, anytime we set an appointment with somebody, we want to update their status in a workflow. So let's talk about how that will work. So let's jump back over to Nimble. I'm going to click on Workflows, and I've got a workflow here called Demo Pipeline. This demo pipeline has 17 records with a status of new leads. So those are the people I'm chasing. I'm trying to connect with them. As I connect with them, I'm going to want to take advantage of the dispositions to automatically categorize them into these different statuses. So how does that work? Let's go ahead and click on Manage Automations. And I'm going to create a new automation. In here, when we're creating a new automation, you're going to see PhoneBurner Call Done as a trigger. I'm going to go ahead and choose PhoneBurner Call Done as the trigger. And now I need to choose the status. So what status that comes from PhoneBurner is going to trigger this automation? Let's talk about set appointment. So I'm going to take my set appointment status, and that's what I'm going to trigger on in Nimble. So let's just go ahead and type in set appointment or copy and paste. And now what do I want to do? If Nimble sees a contact in this workflow have that specific outcome, what should happen? Now, obviously, there's lots that you can do with workflow automations in Nimble. I don't know all of the ins and outs, but for the most part, adding or moving a contact within a workflow is going to be extremely vital to your processes. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Add or Remove Contact in Workflow. And I'm going to go down here where it says Select Stage. See, all of my contacts are starting in new leads. And in the case of a booked appointment, let's say I want to change them to the demo stage. So I'm going to go ahead and update that and finalize automation. Let's go ahead and create another automation. So I'm going to do New Automation. I'm going to do PhoneBurner Call Done again. And let's say this time call status, I'm going to take Not Interested. So anybody I click on who says they're not interested, I want to update them within the workflow. I don't want to continue to chase them. So I want to take them out of new leads or whatever pipeline they're currently in. And let's say, for example, I'm going to move them to my closed loss stage. And then I'm going to go ahead and finalize that. And what you're going to want to do is go through each of your dispositions. So whatever dispositions or buttons you create in the PhoneBurner side, I'd recommend that you just make sure that each of those are accounted for here in the workflow. So let's just do one more. Let's do our follow-up outcome, continue. And this one I'm going to do, let's say, initial contact was made, right? I connected with them. They want me to continue to follow up with them in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Finalize Automation. And so now we've got these three automations. Now let's see how that works. Let's jump over to our contacts. I'm going to go down to the segment that I created called Demo Contacts Still Chasing. So essentially, this is just all of my contacts in the demo pipeline that are still considered new. So let's go ahead and select all and begin a dial session. That's going to open up my dial session window. I'm going to make my selection of all of the different settings. I'm going to continue and get connected. And now we're going to start calling through our contacts. So let's say I'm calling Rachel Sample, goes to voicemail, I click the voicemail button, and I'm off to the next call. Now I'm calling Lisa, goes to voicemail for this one, no problem, I click the button, and I'm off to the next call. So now let's say, for example, I'm calling Jeff Sample and he answers the phone. There's no pause, no delay, no awkward silence. I'm just going to have my conversation with him like I would any other prospect that I call. Now, at some point during that conversation, I'm going to click on this live answer button so that when I'm done talking to Jeff Sample, I can end the call. Once I end that dial session, I'm now presented with my dispositions. And keep in mind, you can create as many dispositions as you want or need for your account. You can even create different sets of dispositions. So depending on the pipeline or depending on the workflow that you're working through, you can have a specific set of buttons just for those types of contacts. Now let's say, for example, I called Jeff Sample, had a great conversation with him, and we set an appointment. So I'm going to click on Set Appointment. And I'm off to the next call. So now let's say this contact answers. Again, no pause, no delay, no awkward silence. At some point, I'm going to click Live Answer. When I'm done talking to him, I'm going to end the call. And let's say this contact is not interested. So I click the Not Interested button. And again, I'm off to my next call. Now let's say we're calling Andrew. Again, he answers, we talk, we have a great conversation. We end that conversation, we end that call. And let's say he's somebody I need to follow up with. So I click on Follow Up. We didn't book an appointment. He's just in my follow-up stage. Now, if somebody doesn't answer again, voicemail or no answer, you're just going to click on the dispositions and you're going to move through your calls. But let's say something happens and we need to wrap up our session or we need to exit our session and we haven't completed all of our calls. Not a problem. We just end our dial session at any point. We don't have to complete the entire dial session. But because every call activity is going to be logged back to Nimble, and we can create those workflow automations that we just talked about, these records can be automatically updated within the system. So when we started the dial session, we had 17 contacts that were in my chasing pipeline. These are people who are currently still in that new contacts view, right? Or that new contact stage, right? If I refresh this, we should see some of these have been removed because we've connected with them, which in fact we do see that we went from 17 down to 14. If we go to our demo pipeline, we should see some of these contacts have had their stage updated. So we can see that one has initial contact made, one is closed lost, and one is demo. If we jump over to the workflow, we should actually see that some of them have actually moved into those different pipelines here as well. And that's all based off the automation that is triggered after each call. And you'll notice that all of the others are still in that new leads pipeline so we can continue to chase them. So anyway, thank you for taking a moment to watch this video. I hope this helps you and your organization get more done in less time using the power of PhoneBurner with Nimble. Thanks again and happy dialing.